Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Gillette Pozos, and here with me is
Omar Pozos. What is up, our VGFN fam? How are you guys doing? How are you, Ness?
Well, I'm feeling good. You know, I was honestly, we started to hit record for our listeners, and I was like, is the AC on in here? Because I was like, I am dying, and I kept like actually having to pause and like shake out my little mid cut off sweatshirt here, which is not as warm as it looks. So there's no reason why I should be really hot in this thing. And I was sweating. And so that's where we had to hit pause, turn down the AC, and start back up again.
Yeah, we exchanged a couple awkward looks, and we looked at the AC.
I was like, is it just me? Or like, are you really hot?
Yeah. So here we are, take two.
Oh, man. Well, so, today's episode, really want to talk about expectations when it comes to the reverse diet. So for those who maybe are newer, who haven't listened to other episodes where we've talked about the process of reverse dieting and what that looks like. So in really short terms here, the reverse diet is the process of helping you eat more food over time. And it might mean that maybe you're on average eating 1,000 calories a day, or maybe you came from a diet program like, I don't know, Optavia or something, where they put you on these like 1,200 calorie meal plans. And you've been eating that for a period of time, and now your body is metabolically adapted to that. That's where your metabolism is at. Well, in order to get you to a place where you can lose fat without you just binging and having hormone issues and all these things that come from severely undereating and underfeeding your body, we need to go through the reverse diet to lay the foundation of getting you up to what we often call maintenance calories, the amount of calories that you can eat without gaining weight.
And if I'm understanding correctly, Vanessa, essentially a reverse diet, and if you want to get more into it, we did episode 17. It's literally called Reverse Diet, The Secret Sauce to Staying Lean. Go check that out. But essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like a proper reverse diet is the foundation block, right, of not only sustainability, but also long-term results, not only with weight loss, but also, like you said, metabolism, hormone, energy levels, like all of that stuff. Does that sound right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think a lot of people get it.
See, I do pay attention.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get it confused, and they just hear reverse dieting. They think that means, okay, I'm eating more food, and they automatically equate eating more food to gaining weight. And so that's where what I want to talk about today is that gaining weight can be a potential outcome of a reverse diet for some people, but it's not an outcome for everybody. And I want to talk about why that is and what that looks like. But where this episode really came from, quick little story here. So, I've been sharing a lot more about my journey from this last year of me working through some hormone health problems, working through my own adapted metabolism as a result of overstressing my body and having hormone dysfunctions and gut dysfunctions. And through that process of me really spending a long time healing my body, going through a really extended reverse diet, eating a lot more food, and doing this just process here, I did gain body fat through that process. And I have been very open about that on social media. And, as a result, which of course I kind of expected this is why I was a little bit uncomfortable to share about the fact that I gained body fat. It was something that I was kind of nervous about was, will people still want to work with me? Like, will they still trust me as a coach and all these things? And while those have not been an issue, I think even more people realize that, we are truly one of the best coaching programs out there, and they do want to work with us. I am finding that more and more people are a little bit nervous around the concept of a reverse diet because they assume that what happened to me gaining body fat is what's going to happen to them. And so when we have initial consultations with women, and if we discover that it does sound like they have an adaptive metabolism and they do want to lose body fat and they do need to lay that foundation of the reverse diet, and we lay out that as being the next step for them, it's like 9 times out of 10 now I get the question of, what, am I going to gain weight?
Yeah. The eyes go super wide and they're like, what do you mean I have to eat more
Deer
calories?
in the headlights look. And so, what I really tend to tell women is that it really does depend on your body. It would be unethical for me to promise you that you're not going to lose weight because I don't know right now. I can also, it'd be unethical of me to promise that you are going to lose weight. Like, these are things that I can't see into the future. I don't know. And I can't say exactly what kind of results you're going to see until you get into the program and until you go through the process and we see how your body responds. After we have you do a metabolic assessment and we see where your metabolism truly is at. Once we see where you're starting from and we put in those initial protocols and we watch and see how your body responds week over week, then we can actually start to see, okay, this is how your body's responding. This is more of an accurate timeline now of what it's going to take to get you to your long-term goals. And this is what we are really expecting of your body here. And I can tell you that based on working with, hundreds of, really actually, I keep saying hundreds, but at this point it's really more of almost to 1,000 women through this process of our flexible reverse dieting system, which is a very strategic and very specific way of going through the flexible or going through the reverse diet.
Can you, let's highlight that point for a little bit, because I think a lot of people where they get maybe, I don't know, a little confused is, they think it's just eat more. And it's not necessarily just eat more. It's eating more of the right things that are going to help you, progress and make improvements towards some of the symptoms that you did show, like hormone health, energy, metabolism, and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was saying of I can absolutely say with assuredness that based on working with all of these women, that as long as you are coachable, as long as you do trust the process, as long as you are adherent to the best that you possibly can be, of course, there are certain levels of adherence
Holidays,
depending on your
birthday parties,
of course,
vacations.
That's where we do bring in a certain level of flexibility, and we do teach flexibility within our program as well. But as long as you are doing the things that we're teaching you and you are putting in your best effort, you will absolutely 100% feel better, because the process of reverse dieting, the goal is not weight loss. The goal is truly healing your body internally and getting you so that you can feel your best. We can get your energy up so we can heal any type of hormonal dysfunction. So we can, have a better menstrual cycle, so that we can have just overall just stop these symptoms that are plaguing us that we often think are normal, but they are not. And we have to clear those things up first, and then your body will just let go of the body fat without you even struggling anymore. But because so many women are scared of this potential outcome of what if I do gain weight during the reverse diet? So many of them avoid doing that. And so they stay stuck in these just short term, I just need to try and find a quick fix to lose weight. And they try and do these quick fixes. They dig themselves into a deeper hole. And that's where those are typically the women that do come to us that do end up, unfortunately, gaining weight, is because of the fact that they've avoided the weight gain, and so they've buried themselves even deeper and caused their body to have more issues that need fixing, that often do end up becoming more like me, where I had a lot of issues that needed a lot of fixing.
More extreme
and
cases.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, one of the other things that I want to highlight is, the fact that what you're doing here is, again, you're setting yourself up for success, right? It's not about short-term instant gratification. It's about learning and doing the foundation of doing the things that are going to give you that long-term results, sustainable results along the way. And I think at the end of the day, people are like, well, I'm just not going to do a reverse diet, or I'm just going to avoid it. And to me, it's almost like avoiding, that, I don't know, the whatever task you need to do that gives you the Sunday scaries, or avoiding something that's inevitable, right? But what's going to end up happening is, like you said, you're going to start seeing more severe health concerns, and then, like you said, loss of periods, like hair loss, stuff like that. So at one point or another, I guess what I'm trying to say is you're going to have to go through this process in order to heal your body. So wouldn't you rather do this with somebody that has experience in taking thousands of women through this process along the way? And if weight gain is going to happen, minimize the weight gain and get you to your goals faster and even probably more efficiently along the way, right? I mean, think of it that way.
Exactly. Well, so let's really lay out, so what can you expect if you're going through a process of a reverse diet? Well, so, I really took a step back and I looked at just all the clients that we've worked with, and I really narrowed it down to essentially there's typically one of four things that happens when you go through a process of reverse dieting, and that can produce these different outcomes. So number one, we do have women who lose fat because they come to us and they're not severely metabolically adapted. They've just been under eating. And this might mean under eating some days, overeating others, and just kind of having the inconsistency, as well as often under eating specific macronutrients. So it may not be a totality of just under eating calories and under eating overall micronutrients, causing their body to have these just specific issues internally. It might just be that, some days I forget to eat, some days I get busy, or, I did this diet program just recently and I wasn't severely restricting calories, but I did eat, pretty low for a little while. And they've just gone through this process to where their metabolism has slowed down a little bit. But, if we kind of really think about this as in terms of like numbers, let's say this woman who maybe I'm hypothetically talking to, she should, based on just, the kind of data that we have as far as like height, weight, activity level, these types of basic things, she should be theoretically able to maintain her weight on 2,000 calories. So that would be what you call her maintenance calories. Anything below 2,000 calories is theoretically then a calorie deficit. She's eating in a deficit of her maintenance. She's eating less than her maintenance. So if she is on average, based on her metabolic assessment, eating 1,200 calories per day, because some days she undereats, some days she overeats, but on average we're at 1,200 calories, then if we go through that process of reverse dieting her from 1,200 to 2,000, then through that process, she's in a calorie deficit the whole way. And because she's not severely metabolically adapted, her body is actually typically going to respond to that by losing body fat through that process. And the amazing thing is, and why these types of clients are typically just become over the moon excited about this process, is because week over week, they're eating more and more food and they're losing body fat in the process. And that's, as you can imagine, it's incredibly exciting for these women that are like, I never thought I could eat 1,800 calories. And here I am losing fat. Like I'm looking at my pictures and I look like a different person. And so those are, of course, those are the ones that like I love to highlight, because that's like the thing that everybody wants to be. And I want to emphasize that those women are typically the ones who recognize, oh, I need a reverse diet, and they jump right into it. They don't avoid the reverse diet. They don't, hold back from it out of fear. They recognize, oh, I think I might be under eating. It's probably time for me to do a reverse diet. And then their body responds really well to it. It's really that simple.
Yeah. Now, again, as you kind of mentioned through this stuff, like what I want to also remind people is, it all truly does depend on what your dieting history has been, like what all you've done. Like if it's somebody that has been severely under eating for 10 years, their body's going to react very differently than somebody who's been doing it for 6 months or a year, right? And that's where people are like, tell me exactly what's going to happen. I'm like, well, I don't know what's going to happen, because until we get you into the program, and like you said, we see your progress week over week and we start making some of these changes, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen. And it, like you said, it would be literally unethical for me to be like, no, you're not going to gain weight. Like everything's perfect in our program. It's, we need to heal your body. We need to get your body to a point where you are at a true maintenance point and then go from there, right?
Yeah. And so, kind of bucket number one there, these are the women who they lose fat due to the fact that they were not metabolically adapted. They were just under eating. And through that process of getting them to the right amount of calories for their body, they are in a deficit through that time. They typically do lose fat until we reach true maintenance. And the reason why we still go through that process of the reverse diet to help them find their true maintenance is because then once we hang out at that maintenance for a little while, we build up some lean muscle, we really fix some behavior patterns, we really unlock any types of just resistance that they're having mentally around different habits and behaviors to make sure this is sustainable. Then we can go back into that calorie deficit at, let's say, 1,800 calories. And again, they're eating way more food than they've ever eaten in their life still, but they're losing fat. And that's what creates that true food freedom, to where they're like, holy crap, I can go out to restaurants, I can hang out with my friends, I can celebrate holidays, I can do these things because I now know how to eat a ton of food and lose fat. And so that's ultimately why we still go through that process of the reverse diet with those women. And they're just very lucky in the fact that they typically lose fat during their reverse diet. Then they hang out for a little bit at maintenance. And then they lose fat even more during the fat loss phase.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's bucket number one. Bucket number two is another type of client who typically does also lose a little bit of fat, or they're just what we call body recomposition. And so these are the women who typically have either been training incorrectly for their bodies. Maybe they've done a lot of cardio, they've done a lot of high intensity workouts, or they just have never really been consistent at all with working out. And so they go through this process of the reverse diet, eating more food. As they eat more food, they have more energy. And as they have more energy, they actually go into their workouts, just getting more out of them. Plus, on top of it, we're putting them through our very strategic strength training programs that are very specific to them, individualized to their individual body. And the beauty of that is their bodies respond like just incredibly, because they're like, wow, This is their body talking. The body's like, wow, I have never experienced like actually training correctly for my individual, just unique physique. And so when you put them through that kind of training program on top of the reverse diet of giving them more fuel, they start adding lean muscle. And what happens when you add lean muscle as a woman, you have more capacity to burn more calories. So often what happens is they start having that body recomposition effect where they start trading body fat for lean muscle.
And it's so hard to get this point across to somebody that, you know, maybe doesn't see the other side of it, because I literally just got off a call with somebody, and you know, she was a mom of two, doing, I think it was F45 or Orange Theory, one of the like high intensity cardio stuff, and she was like, she's like, you know, I've plateaued, I can't lose any weight, I want to build lean muscle, and I have no energy. She's like, but you know, I do sleep 7 hours, but that's just mom life. She's like, I just don't have any energy. She's like, but come next week, she's like, I'm going back to F45. I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and I think things are really going to change. And deep down, I was like, you know, can I be honest with you? She's like, yeah. I was like, truly, I think we need to look at it from a different perspective, right? If we're trying to build lean muscle, and along the way, she was eating like 1,200, 1,300 calories. And I was like, we need to help you, one, train differently so that we can incentivize your body to build the lean muscle. We need to fuel your body correctly so that with the workouts, it is conducive to building the lean workouts. I'm like, that's what makes things sustainable. It's not just waking up earlier, working out more, and then going from there, right? But again, at that point, it sounds so logical when you're speaking it, but when you kind of think about it, what people out there are doing or think is the right way is totally opposite of how it should be sustainable.
Exactly. So then that's bucket number 2. So then let's talk about bucket number 3. Now this is typically the women who they typically just don't really see any type of physical change in their body. They don't lose body fat. They don't gain body fat. Their body composition stays about the same. Where I see these women might have some changes in how they look is oftentimes they might lose bloat or inflammation. So this is a lot of women who, you know, they go through this process of reverse dieting and they've never actually given their body enough of the right nutrients before. And so they actually notice that their skin looks better. They're feeling so much better. Like I'm saying, they have more energy. They're like actually just feeling intrinsically motivated again. And oftentimes that inherently leads them to also improve their habits overall, where maybe now they're walking more, maybe now they're drinking more water, and they're also hopefully following these types of things that their individual coach is instructing them on to minimize any type of bloat that they might have been dealing with before if they had any kind of gut health issues. And so even though their actual body fat percentage is not changing at all, a lot of times these women are like, wow, like I actually think I am looking a little bit different. Or maybe some days I wake up and I feel leaner, because lean isn't always a look, sometimes it's a feeling. So that's what I often see happen with those types of women. But let's get to bucket number 4. Now, this is the one that I really want to address today on this podcast. This is the bucket that I fell into. And this is the bucket that now I see a lot of women just assume that this is what happens to everybody through the reverse diet. And this is the women who do gain body fat through the process of reverse dieting. So through that process of eating more food, finding your true maintenance calories, you might gain body fat. And this is really because our bodies, if we have been dealing with something really truly going on internally as far as like our hormones are off, our sex hormones, our thyroid, our adrenals, or even our gut, like these different things that are going on internally, we have to heal those things first before we can lose body fat. And oftentimes when we're going through these types of things, let's use the adrenals, for example. The adrenals love B vitamins and they use up a ton of B vitamins. So now if you have been severely undereating for a while, you're not able to probably provide your body with enough B vitamins to support your adrenal glands. So now as we go through that process of reverse dieting, we have to give your body enough food to where it can actually use all of those micronutrients, not just the calories, but the micronutrients, the vitamins and the minerals that are within those calories. So that might mean that you might have 2 contradictory things happening, to where we might have to reverse diet you as high as we can to get your body to actually feel safe again and to have the nutrients it needs to heal internally. And sometimes our bodies do gain body fat from the extra calories coming in. And, you know, that's what happened to me. And it's okay because that's how I got to where I was honestly, this time last year, I was so freaking low energy. I was waking up just exhausted. I was using coffee as like a lifeline. And I was just over caffeinated. I was overstressed. I was having just anxiety attacks left and right. I was just really run down. You know, I've talked about a lot of these things before. I've talked about my gut issues that I was going through. I've talked about these things. So if you've listened to other episodes, you know, like I was not your average case here. And I also want to kind of preface here too of like when I talk about these things, some people might be like, how the hell did you even get there? You're a coach. Like, how did you let that even happen? I want to use myself as an example of like, this can happen to anybody because it's not about, are you eating the right way? Are you exercising? It's, are you managing your stress? And stress truly does just eat away at your body internally and affects your hormones in ways you would never expect it to. So managing your stress, huge, but that's not what this episode is about. Really, I just want to emphasize the fact that bucket number 4, you gain body fat. It might happen. That might be what your body needs. And one thing that I had read this in a book the other day, and this was actually really a quote on the process of just healing your body more of like spiritually and just like more of healing just your overall like stress and different things. But I love this quote because I think that this really describes the process of healing your body when it comes to hormone health and going through that process of reverse dieting. So the quote goes like this: contrary to the popular saying, time does not heal all wounds. There is a process to healing, and that process is similar whether the wound is physical, emotional, or spiritual. All wounds must first be identified. The bandages covering up the issue have to be laid aside for a clear and detailed examination of the damage hiding beneath the surface. There must be a deep cleansing of the wound for healing to take place. Healthy and diseased areas can coexist, but only at the risk of contaminating the thriving areas. Decay has to be removed to eliminate the competition between the diseased and healthy. Here, the pain intensifies, and one must make a choice between remaining comfortably wounded and enduring the discomforts of healing. So let me break this down. Going through the process of a reverse diet when you're dealing with hormone dysfunction, it can be really freaking uncomfortable, especially if you're going through that process, you're eating more food, and you're noticing now that you're gaining body fat. And you're not going to feel better just like overnight immediately. Sometimes, depending on the severity of those internal wounds, those hormone health dysfunctions, it might take a long time before your body heals those things. So you might go through this process to where now you're noticing you're gaining weight and you're not feeling better right away. And you have to trust that that is the process of healing. It's like what it says in this quote of, you have to, the pain intensifies, and one must make a choice between remaining comfortably wounded, so staying stuck in that hormonal dysfunction, having the low energy, having the anxiety, having whatever your symptoms are showing up as, or enduring the discomforts of healing. And that's what I ultimately chose. I was like, I'm going to endure this discomfort of healing and go through this process of gaining weight and go through this process of delayed gratification with the hopes that this is working, that this is healing me internally. And I can say on the other side, 100%, that's why I'm open to talking about this. And that's why I want to share that it's okay that I gained weight, because it was a necessary thing. And I'll be able to lose the weight later. I might go into maybe a fat loss phase this summer. It doesn't matter. I'm going to eventually, if I want to, lose the weight. That's not going to be an issue. The fact is, when I do go into deciding to lose that weight, I'm going to feel amazing doing it because I'm going to have the energy. I'm not going to have constant anxiety. I'm not going to have gut health problems. I'm going to feel good. And that we have to go through that process of healing our bodies internally.
Man, I feel like I'm just like silenced over here. I'm just like, wow, like that is such a powerful quote because like you said, in one of the things that you and I and Alex was here over the weekend, but we were kind of chatting about was like, you were like, I saw the signs. I saw that I was using coffee as a lifeline. I saw how tired I was, and I kept pushing forward. I was working with my coach, and she was like, maybe you shouldn't do a reverse or a cut. And you were like, you know what? I think I'm going to work on my own. And you went right into a cut, and you were like, You know what ended up happening? I lost 0 weight, and I just struggled with this constantly. And it wasn't until, like you said, you really took the time to heal. And I mean, I've seen it literally firsthand, just how uncomfortable it is and how frustrating and challenging it is each and every day. Now, I can't even imagine doing that process or something like that by yourself, because I think you literally would go crazy and quit, every single day or every other day at least, and never truly get to a point where you say, okay, I've literally healed every aspect of my body, and now I can live my life, with the goals that I have in mind, or weight loss, or whatever it is that I want to do, right?
Yeah, but that's exactly, so many women will come to us and they'll say, like, I want to feel better. Like, I want to lose the weight. I want to have my energy back. I want to feel better, and I will do whatever it takes. Like, just tell me how to do it. I will do whatever you tell me to do. And then we're like, okay, but what if whatever it takes is temporarily gaining weight? And a lot of those women, they might be like, oh, never mind, I'm out.
Yeah.
But that's the reality, is like, I can't say for sure what that means by whatever it will take. So I need you, if you're going to come in, to trust me that we want what's best for you, and we want that end goal to happen. We want it to go about it the right way, so you never have to worry about this stuff ever again. So, what if it does mean that whatever it takes is a temporary period of weight gain? Will you still be willing to do whatever it takes? Because I can tell you that people who are successful in any domain of life, they have an extraordinary skill. And that skill is delayed gratification. So if you are solely focused on just, I need to lose the weight, I have to lose the weight, my life will be so much better when I lose the weight, you're never going to be successful, because you are focused on that instant gratification. We need to have delayed gratification of, we might need to heal your body internally, heal your hormones, heal your gut, get your metabolism up, and then lose the weight. And I promise you, it will be incredibly worth it. That's why you have to focus on, what do I need to do today? Not for results today, but for results down the road. Results in a year, results in 3 years, results in 5 years. What if you could be an entirely different person, look and feel just every way you possibly ever wanted to look and feel 3 years from now? Then would you be willing to go through this period of discomfort? It's, at the end of the day, the time is going to pass either way, and you have to ultimately decide, is it going to be worth it to you? Are you willing to do what it takes?
Wow, I'm speechless. I literally have nothing to say, because it's so true. And that point of instant gratification is something that is so just popular right now in our day society. So I think it's just hard to delay it, to see it. But like you said, are you willing to put in the work now for how you feel for the rest of your life, not just how you feel in the next 30 days or the next 60 days or whatever. But no, I think it's very well said, babe.
Well, I feel like I'm a little bit out of breath, probably because I'm still congested from my cold, but I hope that this made sense, and I hope that it resonated with somebody out there. So if this was helpful for you, shoot me a message, let me know. It would make me feel better. And thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week.
See you guys.